Hello and welcome back to the channel. I hope you are doing well. In today's video, we'll be discussing the recent links to Thiago, my thoughts and opinions on him. Of course, you can leave yours down in the comments down below or just let us know. Engage with us on the other social media platforms. And just before we get into it, do join our FPL code and link will be in the description down below. So yeah, Thiago as a footballer, man, what do I think of this guy? Let's get into it. Reportedly, terms have been agreed with Thiago, personal terms with the player, of course, but with United, that never really means anything in the grander scheme of things until we actually start talking to the club and put an official bid in. We move like a snail at the pace that we do deals, and it's not a surprise that this is a link that keeps on coming back to Old Trafford. I think the first link to Thiago was all the way back in 2013 under David Moyes, and David Moyes controversially and infamously chose Marouane Fellaini over this guy. So I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will have the same level of stupidity. I don't think he'll be as imbecilic as David Moyes was when he chose Fellaini over this absolute baller. But there is some red flags with this deal. And I think when people hear that, they immediately assume it has to do with the skill of the player, and it's got nothing to do with the skill of the player. Make no mistake, Thiago, in my opinion at least, is one of the most underrated and overlooked midfielders in world football. If we're talking across Europe at least, not specifically focusing on the Premier League, but just focusing on all the other European leagues. I think this guy has a lot of pedigree to his name, and I think he backs that pedigree up not just, by being an old age Don who's a freeloader who's getting paid massive wages, but by actually controlling games from the midfield, actually reading the game, actually being a great passer of the ball. He's a very trustworthy guy is what I'm trying to say, and he can probably play in that pivot role better than anyone at Manchester United at the moment, except maybe Matic, because he's more used to the Premier League. But even then, I would say he could challenge for Matic's spot in certain games against certain opposition, because he has what Matic lacks going forward and can still do a job defensively. But it is that age and it is that lack of physicality, that lack of experience in the Premier League that makes me worried about this signing. He's never played in the Premier League before. He's in his 30s, and that's never a good thing for me personally. Age will always be a big when they come to Manchester United, because the Premier League is so physical and so demanding, and if you haven't gotten the time to get used to it and you haven't played in the league long enough, it can be difficult to adjust. And we see it all the time with players, with even young players. We see it with young players a lot, so imagine how much more a player who hasn't played there. And articles floating around, we're not going to get into the credibility of these articles. You make up your own mind. Of course, there's in the Express, the Daily Mail, the Manchester Evening News. Manchester United reportedly are closing in on a deal with Thiago. We've heard this all before, so I just want to focus less on whether or not I think the deal will actually happen, because I'm not really sure at this point, to be honest, and you can make up your own mind. As I said, I want to focus on more, if we do get this deal done, is it a good thing for Manchester United? And look, I think there's other problem areas in this team. Left back, right back, centre back, and right winger are positions that I think we need to strengthen in, and I'll explain all of those in a bit. Left back, obviously one that stands out to a lot of Manchester United fans, because the people seem to have an agenda against Luke Shaw, or people just think that Luke Shaw, as good as he could be and as good as he has been in the last 8 months, he just isn't enough. And I would agree with you if you said Luke Shaw isn't enough, because he definitely does have problems with his injuries, and so naturally we do need a player off the bench. I don't know if Brandon Williams is the guy, to be honest, so it would be nice to see someone come in. Whether that's Reguilon or somebody else, it would be nice to have someone to back up for Luke Shaw, who is left-footed in that position. But I don't think that is the number one priority. I think the number one priority is centre-back, because a lot of people talk about Luke Shaw, right? Luke Shaw having injury problems, not being as consistent, right? And therefore we need a left-back. What about right-back? I know Aaron Wan-Bissaka was extremely consistent for the first 6 months, but post-COVID, he wasn't really the same player. You could tell that the amount of games he was playing was clearly having an effect on him mentally and physically. The amount of running that the Manchester United fullbacks do up and down on the pitch ever since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer started playing a more attacking playing style is definitely noticeable, and the effect it has on Aaron Wan-Bissaka is I would say monumental, and there definitely does need to be a backup right back. Are you okay with Timothy Foster-Mensah? Are you okay with Diego the Ghost Dalot? The reason why I call him the Ghost is because he never plays and we never even get injury updates on him anymore. When was the last time you heard Diego Dalot's name mentioned in a press conference? Where is he? Is he injured? Is he just not getting selected? Is he on the move? Has he submitted a transfer request? You just don't know what's happening with Diego Dalot. It's almost as if he's not really at the club anymore. You could swear he's out on loan for all we know. So as far as I'm concerned, when I look at that right-hand side and I look at that left-hand side, the issues are very similar. And actually, I would argue that Brandon Williams is just as good as Timothy Foster-Mensah. Maybe not as experienced and hasn't played at this level as much, but what has Foster-Mensah really done that makes him better than Brandon Williams? Brandon Williams had a really good season for a person who's 18. He's never played in the Premier League. Foster-Mensah has had 2 failed loan spells, and we still don't know what position he plays in. Diego Dalot is Diego Dalot. If you think he's good, I'm not going to change your opinion, obviously. But as a person who never watched Diego Dalot before he came to Manchester United, and as a person who hasn't seen him play much at Manchester United, it's hard to say that I think Diego Dalot has a lot of potential. The signing did excite me when he got here, but it's just like, where does... And then the centre-back position for me is much more of a priority than those two I just mentioned, because at least in those two positions, at least in right-back, we have Foster-Mensah, at least we have Diego Dalot. Okay, you move over to the left side, at least we have Brandon Williams and Luke Shaw. In centre-back, who do we have? Because Harry Maguire, Lindelof, whatever your opinions are of the two of them, obviously I prefer Lindelof. I think he's half the price and just as good as Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire is an £80 million fridge that gets nutmegged, an average nutmeg of once every 3 games. That's just a made-up stat, by the way. I'm just bantering. But anyways, yeah, Harry Maguire, all jokes aside, Harry Maguire and Lindelof, whatever you think of them, are they're not compatible together. They don't really complement each other. They're too similar. They don't do each other, and they don't work well for what we're trying to build going forward. And so you throw the Manchester United defender into that mix, and there's already immediate problems, right? Eric Bailly, his injury record, right? Why people talk about Luke Shaw's injury record? Why don't we talk about Bailey's? Why don't we talk about how aggressive and how reckless Bailey is? There's no denying that there's talent and there's natural abilities as a footballer from Eric Bailly, but if couple that with good decision making, positional awareness, and consistently staying out of the recovery room, what good does it do for you as a player at that level, playing high-end football? Probably not that good. So Eric Bailly, for me, the jury's out on him personally, and I don't think he would be the guy to elevate us to a team that's making third, to a team that's potentially challenging for a title. Lindelof, probably Maguire, because he cost £80 million, he's British, and he has the captain's armband, whereas his counterpart is half the price, probably more consistent, has been here longer, has worked harder. But anyways, this is not the show for that. Axel Tanzebe, he's been injured. He's even out now. I think he suffered a foot injury, which has put him out for a long, long time. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But last I heard, he was injured. Phil Jones, we don't need to talk about Phil Jones. Marcus Rojo, he's the Argentine Phil Jones, so we don't need to talk about him either. And he'll probably be moving on. Chris Smalling has expressed his desire to move from the club and go back to Roma. He seems to be having a ball in Italy, and he's one of the best defenders in that league statistically, or at least he's in one of the better teams in that league who have a good defensive record. And so by default, you'd have to say he's a really good defender. Obviously, stats aren't a true reflection, and I've seen all these comparisons to Koulibaly. Nonsense. Chris Smalling is Koulibaly, but statistically, he is one of the top defenders in Europe at the moment, based on last season at least. Whether or not he can continue that, we'll just have to wait and see. So good for him if he does go back to Roma, and I wish him all the best. He's been a great servant of the club, and I respect the fact that he wants first team football. He's not just leaving because of any sour, behind the scenes beef. He's leaving because he genuinely just wants to play football, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can't guarantee him first team football. So fair play. So that leaves you with no one in terms of the centre-backs at Manchester United. Genuinely, you've only got Maguire and Lindelof. If one of them gets injured and the other gets a red card and gets suspended, who have we got in that centre-back position? Anyways, that has been your rant about transfer talks and the Thiago deal. Let me know what you think, where your confidence levels are. Do you trust all the reports? Do you think we actually are genuinely in discussions with Thiago, his agent, and obviously Bayern Munich? Let me know down in the comments down below. Personally, I think there is something in this deal, but whether or not it's taking center stage, I don't know. I think Sancho's still the priority. And we just recently signed Van der Beek, which was also pretty cool. So lots to be positive about at Manchester United, despite all the complaints and the negativity. as usual, it's been your boy Triple M. Enjoy the rest of your day/evening, and peace out.